9/11 was one of the most shocking acts of terrorism in the history of the world. Over 3,000 innocent people were killed, and the American public was launched into a state of fear that would last for years to come. Airport safety was pushed into a new era, and the American military launched an enormous campaign in the Middle East. But what if I told you that you can change all of this and leave the world a much better place? This is your complete guide to preventing 9/11. So the first thing you're going to need to do is get 4 rolls of duct tape. If you don't have any lying around your house, just run down to your local Walmart and grab some. Next, you're going to need 3 friends. Now, I know you're a loner with no friends and you probably play video games all day, but hey, the lives of hundreds of thousands of people are at stake here. So if you don't have any friends, get your butt off your couch, get out of your shell, and go talk to some people. Next, you're going to need 4 wooden baseball bats. You can choose whatever bat you want, but it must be wooden. Metal is not going to work here. Okay, now the final thing that you're going to need, and I will say this is going to be the biggest financial investment required, but again, just remember what's at stake. You are going to need a time machine. It's definitely the most rare item on my list here, but personally, I'd recommend going with this model. It's available on Etsy right now, and it's pretty affordable. If you're looking to splurge a little bit, then this would be another great option. It's a little bit smoother and more comfortable, but ultimately, it's just about getting from point A to point B, so I really wouldn't worry about the model too much. All right, once you have that time machine, you'll need to rent one of those U-Haul moving vans and load up the time machine and the other items that I mentioned. Get your 3 friends together and road trip to Boston. Now, if you're not from somewhere in North America where you can't actually drive to Boston, here's what you need to do. Start by setting up a virtual mailing address in the Boston area and ship the time machine there. Then get on a plane and fly into the city with your friends and rent the van once you're in the city and pick up the time machine. And one more thing too, you probably should bring some US cash with you. If you're not American, just walk down to your local bank and hopefully they won't rip you off too badly. All right, so the time machine's loaded up. I want you to drive it down to Medfield State Hospital and park the moving van. And you're probably wondering why I'm having you go to this creepy asylum looking place. Well, the nice thing about this location is there's basically no people here ever, and people are what you want to avoid right now. If anybody sees what you're doing, they're gonna get all suspicious and they'll blow the cover on the whole thing and ruin everything. So whatever you do, don't be seen at this stage. If you get to the hospital before dark, just chill out for a bit in the van. You can eat some Cheetos or walk around and explore. Whatever you want to do to pass some time before you have the cover of darkness. All right, once it's dark, unload the time machine from the van and get it out of the box. Load it up with the bats and the duct tape, and unfortunately, all 4 of you are gonna have to fit into this thing, and it's only meant to hold 2 people, so it's gonna get a little bit snug in there. Let's just put it that way. So no man spreading, obviously. Now you're all loaded in. It's time to take the trip back in time. I want you to enter the date September 11th, 1996, and push the main lever forward. It's a pretty simple machine to operate, but if you have any issues, just refer to the owner's manual that should have come with the machine. Now, this will give you exactly 5 years before 9/11 actually happens, and you're gonna see why you'll need that time. All right, so you've traveled through time and you're in 1996 Boston. Chances are you're feeling a little bit jet lagged from travel, but this is gonna wear off quickly, so just drink a lot of water and don't worry about it too much. But it is time to get to work. First thing I want to point out is you don't want to draw any unnecessary attention to yourself. The first order of business is gonna be finding a place to live. I'd recommend something simple, something cheap that you can share with your friends. That's not gonna cost a whole lot, and you can use that cash that you brought to cover the first month's rent. Next, you are going to need to find a job to support yourself, and it's going to need to be a low-key, ideally a cash-only gig, because your bank account isn't going to work in 1996, remember that. Plus, if a company were to try to run a background check on you and use your social security number, it's going to raise a ton of red flags, since chances are you probably don't even exist yet, or you're not supposed to. So I'd recommend just find a job as a bartender or a server, something simple where they pay you cash and don't ask a lot of questions. Something else that you're going to need to adjust to that I want to point out is the lack of smartphones. You'll notice that the internet is pretty useless at this point, so just go out to a phone store, grab some basic flip phones to stay in touch with your friends. You're gonna have to actually talk to people as you're finding your way around town. Get out of your shell, ask for directions when you need to, but don't be a weirdo. The next thing you need to do is find a flight school in the Boston area. Every moment that you're not working, I want you to start taking flying lessons. Now, you're gonna need need to spend about 20 to 30 hours per week on this, so between that and the job, you're gonna be really busy. As you start interacting with more people, they're gonna start to ask you questions about yourself, just naturally, like people being friendly to someone they don't know. I want you to engage with them normally, but don't overshare. You don't want to get caught in a lie and get people suspicious. As long as you don't mess up too badly in your flight school, you're gonna graduate as a pilot in the fall of 1998. Once that's complete, I need you to switch your focus. I want you to find a martial arts gym in your area, ideally pretty close to your apartment, and start taking jujitsu classes. Just like how you focus on the flight school every waking moment, I need you to switch that focus now to martial arts. I want you to become a jujitsu master while also training in the gym, just weightlifting and general fitness stuff that is going to get you in great shape. I need you to live and breathe this training for the next 3 years. When the summer of 2001 rolls around, I want you to walk into a travel agency. I know you've probably never heard of these, but there's no Expedia at this point. I want you to purchase 4 plane tickets for American flights 11 and 77 and United flights 175 and 93. Make sure your seats are all as close to the front as possible. On September 10th, have 2 of your friends rent cars and drive to Washington, D.C. and Newark, respectively. They're gonna need to leave pretty early in the morning and then book a motel once they're there. I need you and your other friend to stay in Boston and just wait in your apartment. All of you need to wake up really early in the morning of September 11th. All 4 flights are gonna leave between 7 and 9 a.m., so you should plan to arrive at the airport around 6 a.m., maybe even a little bit earlier. Remember the duct tape and the baseball bats that I had you bring from the future. Make sure that stuff gets packed onto your carry-on. You shouldn't be checking any luggage, just carry-ons. Stay totally calm and board your flight that morning. Shortly into the takeoff, you're gonna see several men who look like this get up from their seats and start yelling while making their way towards the pilot's cabin. The moment you see them get up from their seats, I need you to reach for that carry-on and grab your baseball bat. Before these guys have a chance to get into the pilot's cabin, overpower them with your jujitsu skills and the bats. Remember, this is what you've been training for the last 3 years. Once you've eliminated the initial threat and they're hopefully down lying in the aisle somewhere, I need you to incapacitate them with the duct tape that you brought. Bind up their legs, their ankles, their wrists, and even put some around their mouth too so they'll stop yelling. Now, ideally through this process, you've been able to keep the pilot safe, but in the event that something goes a little off plan and one or both of the actual pilots are injured, you're gonna need to land the plane yourself. But that's where your flight training from 1996 is gonna come into play. This should be a routine, easy task for you. Upon landing, you're gonna be a worldwide hero. I mean, all kinds of people and news organizations are gonna wanna interview you, but you need to keep a low profile. You don't wanna raise any suspicions or make unnecessary alterations to the past. The moment you land, head back to your apartment and close the blinds. I don't want anyone seeing you. Call your friends and arrange for all of them to meet you back in Boston. Get in a rental vehicle and travel back to Medfield State Hospital where you originally arrived years ago. Locate your time machine, which hopefully you've left hidden somewhere safe in the woods. Pile onto it and then travel back to the present day as unsung heroes.